What's something women learn too late in life? Attention is not value. It's also not affection or respect. This especially, so many young women don't seem to understand that a lot of people follow them just to watch them fall. Strong boundaries. Be ready and willing to walk away from a man or friend who crosses those boundaries, hurts you physically or emotionally, or disregards your feelings. Believe people the first time they show you who they are. It will not get better, only worse. I always hung on to relationships and friendships longer than I should have. And all that did was prolong the inevitable while making me unhappy and preventing me from finding better. And there is always better out there. You need to exercise. Like, every demographic gets benefits to exercise, and there's a ton of benefits to your health with it. But strength training is particularly important for women because it helps with bone density. Osteoporosis and fractures are more prevalent in postmenopausal women than in older men, partially because of low estrogen. https://pmc nkb nlm ni gov/articles/pmc 5,643,776/ https://pmc nkb nlm ni gov/articles/pmc 5,643,776/. Also, continued exercise now is beneficial later in life because you might not need as much assistance with getting around and can help reduce the risk of falls. But you can't just start doing it when it's a problem. You should start exercising now. One of the worst things for the human body is being sedentary. The level of difference that just going for a 30-minute walk every day will make is astounding. There is nothing that 60-year-old you will be more grateful to current age you for than getting in at least some form of regular exercise. If you can't do weights or yoga or anything like that, just go for a walk. If you can't do 30 minutes, do 20, do 10, do whatever you can. Every day, no matter how long or short a walk you are limited to, that time is better walking than sitting down. That you can do fun things alone if you don't have a friend who shares that interest, and it's fine. I remember a girl in college used to go places by herself, and I asked her if it felt weird, and she said, if I don't like spending time with myself, why would anyone else want to? Amazing mindset. One of the things I've always hated. Years back I'd go to movies by myself, and it would come up sometimes. I'd always get a WTF or why. That's odd. It was bizarre to them as someone who also enjoyed movies that I would watch them when I could or wanted, but at a movie theater instead of alone at home. You don't have to apply everyone's feedback. I remember reading an advice column way back when about a woman who was given feedback she thought was stupid from a man she thought was an idiot in a writing class or similar, and her notes to herself when considering his critique: just read Rick is a dipshit. Years later, the "is Rick a dipshit" test remains a useful tool when considering certain people's, often unsolicited, opinions. Financial awareness. Blind trust in a spouse's financial decisions never turn out good. Also, resolve the trauma on your own. You won't get apologies or resolution from the people who traumatized you, and if you don't do the work, you end up making it your whole personality, whether consciously or subconsciously. My dad's insisted on my mom being a SAHW and to leave the finances to him. He'd tell her if they can swing a purchase or not. When my dad almost died from not managing his diabetes, my mom logged into their bank accounts for the first time ever and was shocked to find out they didn't have enough to get to the end of the month. And they were 62 and 63. Turns out man has not saved a dime in the 30 years he's had control over the budget. Further analysis showed that at least 25% of their expenditures was twice daily fast food purchases he made at work. Another 10% to their combined cigarette habit. Now I'm the bank of retirement if I don't want their dumbasses on the streets eating cat food. That crippling menstrual cramps, ridiculously heavy bleeding, and luteal phase panic attacks are not normal. Unfortunately, we also learn that a large majority of healthcare practitioners also believe those things are normal. Endo, PCOS, and PMDD are very real, and not just normal period experiences. that being nice won't protect you, and saying no doesn't make you mean. Saying no after the kissing gets too heavy also does not make you a cock tease. It makes you a person with boundaries, who isn't ready to go that far. That is all. I don't understand it. What happened to heavy petting? And who is raising these guys telling them, if I make out with them, and it gets heavy, that I owe it to them to have sex? I can understand disappointment from hopeful expectations. But I'm not a CT's BC. I didn't want to, or wasn't ready, to go to bed with you. Actions speak louder than words. I've always said words without the actions that match mean nothing. You can say something as much as you want, but unless your actions match, what you've said is useless. Someone else's procrastination is not your emergency. In my ed department we say a lack of planning on your end does not constitute an emergency on ours. Apostrophe. Thanks for spreading that phrase around. That and I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you are my two favorites. That it's okay to disappoint others if it means not abandoning yourself. 100% agree. And also, sometimes people are disappointed because a situation sucks, not because you did something wrong. It's okay to let them be disappointed and not take the blame or try to make it easier for them. Example, if you stand someone up for an important event, that's on you. If you get genuinely sick and can't make the important event, that's just life. Happens and you don't need to feel guilty that you got the flu. To negotiate pay and to apply for that role, even if you are only 60% qualified. This recalibrated my brain when I read it. Women do not apply for jobs unless they believe they can perform 90% of the requirements. Men apply at 60%. In the choice to pick someone, you can also pick yourself. This was me when I decided it was time for divorce. I could die tomorrow, or any time in the next 50 years. Looking at the prior decade and seeing how unhappy I was, I made the decision. He told me that me leaving was going to ruin his life. So he went off and found a different mommy bang maid and tries to make me jealous of her any time I have to talk to him. Her tits are bigger. She's gothier. She's just so much better than I ever was. But I'm happier now. My nervous system has finally started to relax after almost 2 years. I get to enjoy life again. How their cycle works. I feel like this should be taught from a very young age because it affects every single day of our life. Honestly, not just normal cycle stuff. Myself and most women I personally know have abnormal cycles, and it can be incredibly difficult to get healthcare providers to take it serious enough to diagnose or provide guidance beyond take ibuprofen and tough it out. So many of us have had similar experiences. At 38 I only learned this year that after 30 years of suffering, I started my period at 8 years old. That I need a hysterectomy and never could have had a child. 30 years of chronic debilitating pain, periods lasting months at a time, anemia causing weakness and passing out. If I had been told this long ago I just would have gotten the hysterectomy, but no doctors took any of that seriously till I ended up in a hospital this year needing a blood transfusion. They acted like I was making things up till that point. So I guess what I learned too late is you must push doctors to take your complaints seriously and not just accept that there are no solutions. It took them getting an ultrasound, or 3D ultrasound, a cord scan, video footage of my uterus from the inside, biopsies, and an MRI to finally realize there was no way to fix my problem. I had more than one doctor tell me maybe my pain was from anxiety, and another tell me that all women suffer with pain and I just needed to pull up my big girl pants. F that, I lost 30 years of my life to debilitating pain because I was too meek to fight back against that shit. Healthcare is a battlefield. You only have one life. Don't accept that suffering in silence is your only option. That mixed signals should always be interpreted as a no. Goodness, I wish I'd learned this earlier. I think I've only learned it in hindsight, unfortunately. Lifting weights is good for everybody. For longevity. For health. For satisfaction. Worst advice I heard from a gym teacher: you should lift weights, but don't lift too heavy of a weight or else you'll gain more weight. Like what? To be more comfortable in our own bodies and to not envy others. to listen to ourselves more. Trying to just be skinny is eating your bones. Don't be looking to have double fractured femurs at 60. Eat and lift weights. This is one of the most important lessons of life, and your bones will never strengthen unless you feed them. Just because someone asks you a question doesn't mean you have to answer it. Your partner isn't your life. They are a part of it. Yep. Known too many people whose personality just disappeared the moment they got married or got a job. It's not your life either, by the way. Don't mold yourself to any one thing. That running back to abusive men teaches your sons that there are no consequences for their actions, and your daughters that their self-worth and safety is secondary to a man's happiness. Honestly, if anyone behaves well just because they fear the consequences of behaving badly, they're already unfit to be with. Very heavy periods and crippling cramps every month are not normal. Get checked out. Get a second opinion if needed. Advocate for yourself. Lifting weights and yoga help my craps a lot. When I don't work out, it's unbearable. That saying no doesn't make you rude. A lot of women grow up being told to please everyone, then spend years unlearning it just to find peace. I have a rule now where I will say no once, and if they keep pushing I just ignore them. It took me until I was about 40 to do this, and I still feel guilty sometimes. This is actually very helpful advice. Thank you. You need to moisturize your neck, not just your face. Sunscreen every day, right down to the girls. If your husband doesn't take care of you now when you're sick, he won't take care of you when you're old and infirm. This can lead to you dying early because you're relying on someone who simply doesn't consider your health and welfare his responsibility. Make sure the guy who expects you to literally wipe his will return the favor. I remember when my boyfriend accidentally gave me a UT. He picked up my antibiotics, got the expensive women's health probiotics along with other supplements, brought food, candles, flowers, and stayed at my house babying me until I felt better. That's when I knew I could trust this man in marriage, in sickness and in health. Pretty much just a repeat of other people in the comments. // no is a complete sentence. You said / watch your diet. Cutting your quality of life and lifespan is not a good trade-off / do what you want. Don't feel forced into imaginary boxes and positions / most people don't care about you in the slightest. Stop giving a F what random people think. Seek satisfaction from those you chose to make bonds with / you will never be completely satisfied. Just accept it. Have goals. Delay gratification. Not everything needs to be now. And patience is a real thing. Stop worrying about things you have no control over and focus meticulously on those that impact you the most, that you have direct influence over. Habits are real, not just some magical bullshit you hear from the gym brothers on TikTok. Sleep schedules, meal plans, working out, etc. are insanely effing important. That you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Your value doesn't lie in believing that you have to be a conveyor belt for others. Do not be impressed by men, especially in your 20s, and especially if there is an age gap. Nice restaurants and random knowledge is a product of age, not sophistication. Being assertive. I honestly believe this somewhat explains the Karen phenomenon. Like it's a result of the overcorrection that happens when assertiveness isn't tempered by tact and empathy. Yes op. I had an assertive friend who tipped over to aggressive. I gave her a check yourself before you wreck yourself conversation. I watched it happen. Sadly, she proved she had given over herself to the Karens. I suspect your words are what I was searching for during that conversation. It's so sad that in life we get the test before the knowledge. Thank you for sharing.